Welcome students to this learning session. This is module 3 of the course OSP 102, Social Work Professional Ethics. And today we look into ethical decision making. And the main focus of this learning session will be on ethical decision making as a concept, development of ethical decision making, decision making model, ethical dilemma, managing ethical dilemma, and corruption. The concentration will be on these 6 areas. It is very, very important for social workers to look into decision making, and they should make sure that they decide ethically, because whatever they do that is unethical can affect the process, can affect the change, can affect the procedure towards helping the client. It is unethical to engage in any kind of corruption, because in any decision, corruption affects much and can make the decision not getting to reach the intended goal, the intended objective. What is ethical decision making? An ethical decision is a decision that is both legally and morally. It is the one that is acceptable to the larger community. It is legally because we abide with all the laws, with all the regulations, with all the standards in making decision. But also we are guided by the morals. We need to decide what will be the best interest of our clients. We need to see what is good and what is bad, and what will be the effects when we decide. So ethical decision-making process is the process of choosing the best alternative for achieving the best results and outcomes. The outcome can be reached when values, morals, and regulations, as I've said earlier, will be taken into account.
Utakwenda nyingine.
Sorry.
Unaingia nyingine sasa. Rudi nyuma alafu unaingia nyingine ile. Haya, press ya kuendelea.
Let's look into the development of ethical decision making. But when we decide, there are very basic issues that you need to consider. There are things we say decision making is directly connected to conscience. Conscience is also what we say moral. It drives you to decide ethically. You need to think of what will be the effect when you decide, what will be the outcome when you decide. And then those 3 things that you need to consider are pre-conventional, conventional, and post-conventional. In pre-conventional, we focus on the pleasure-seeking orientation, in which right action is determined by one's own needs. You see what will be pleasing you see what the client is pleased to reach the goals, to reach their needs. And in conventional, the choice now is based on the authority orientation. And this is which the outcome will be pleasant also to the recipients. But here, we look into the authority of the decision making, the power of the decision making. And thirdly, pre-conventional. This bases on support of laws and rational analysis and the mutual agreement. Here, we decide basing on the regulations. We decide basing on the laws. And this, at the end of the day, we are sure that when we follow these three steps, we are sure that the decision will be rational, will be for the best interest of our clients. Let's look into the decision-making model. We have many models concerning decision-making, but today we look at this one that has got 4 steps. Step number 1, when you need to decide, you need to define the situation. Defining the situation is concerned about looking to the nature of the situation itself. You need to look where the client is, what is the problem presented to you, what will be the outcome, what is needed of the client, what will be the positive outcome when decision will be made. So the nature of the problem, you look at the nature of the problem itself. The nature of the situation, you need to look into the nature of the problem that is presented. You need to see what is needed. You see who will benefit from the decision itself. And secondly, you identify the value. Here is where you stand for. Because you need to look the client, you need to look the client who presents the problem and how the problem is presented to you. You see the relationship of the problem presented and the presenter of the problem. That is the client who is presenting the problem. But you need to value the presenter. You need to value the client. In valuing the client, you value the problem that is presented to you, so that when you make the decision made will bring about the positive changes. And thirdly, you choose your loyalties. Here we look who will benefit from the decision that we'll be making. In this case, our loyalties are the clients that are presenting the problem to us, the clients that are faced with the challenges. Now, the clients should be the best. The problem should be looked deeply, should be taken into much consideration, that at the end of this session, change will be positive, change will be made, and the client will realize the change, will realize the well-being. And fourthly, you need to identify the principles. And in identifying the principles, we base on moral philosophy. As I've mentioned earlier, in making decision, moral should be considered. Moral should be taken into account. You need to look the goods and bads. We need to look that the beneficiaries will not regret presenting the problem to the practitioner, will not regret presenting the problem to you as a social worker. And at the end of the day, this will increase credibility, will increase respect to the profession itself. But at the end of the day, service will be inequality. Let's also look into ethical dilemma. When we are providing our services to our clients, and when we need to make rational decision, there are sometimes we face challenges, and these challenges can hinder the process to proceed, can hinder the outcome to be achieved. What is dilemma in a social perspective? Dilemma, we say, is a situation that will often involve an apparent conflict between the moral imperative. Here it is in which to obey one will result in transgressing another. This is a conflict. We need to decide by this. There are challenges that make you stuck. You cannot decide because who will benefit? Now those are challenges that face practitioners when they are making decision. They need to decide the course of action. They need to decide who will benefit. So ethical dilemma arise conflict of interest. Now here we need to look who will be who will benefit. Social work, as we say, clients should be the best interest. We should look at the best interest of our clients. The clients should be the first and foremost to benefit from the decision. Now, facing any challenges when you want to decide, you need to manage the ethical dilemma that are facing you when you need to decide on the course of action. There are 4 steps that we are going to look into today. Step number 1, we need to state the background and the context of the dilemma. We need to look the nature of the dilemma. We need to define what is all about the dilemma. And secondly, you identify the many ethical issues causing dilemma. You look at the dimension of the problem. What are the issues underlying the dilemma? You need to define them. You need to identify them. You make them clear so that at the end of the day, you find which dilemma should be solved. And then you list the main ethical issues causing the dilemma. You list possible solution to the dilemma. You need to list them, the solution that will be reached, that will cause the solution. Make them all that you find, all that you identify, and then at the end of the day, you choose one that you see this is the most dilemma that you need to solve. So you select the appropriate solution, and then you use that solution to solve the dilemma. In making decision, one of the dilemma is corruption. Sometimes you need to provide service to the client, and during the process, in making assessment, you find that the client does not deserve the service that is needed. You find out that the client does not contain the problem that is presenting to you. So sometimes clients may corrupt you. So corruption is one of the misconduct in practice. So social workers are obliged to avoid any knowingly corruption, any dishonest, any fraudulent or deceptive activities when they are providing the services. Maybe money, maybe anything that the client wants to provide to you so that he may gain what he intends to get from you. So corruption can cause dilemma, as I've said earlier, in decision making, and it is against social work values, morals, and standards. It's against social work professional ethics. Any social worker, any practitioner that engages himself or herself in corruption does not deserve to be a practitioner in this case, because this is one of the major misconducts in practice. To summarize what I've just said in this lecture, we have just seen ethical decision making concept that you need to decide ethically. You need to see, to abide with values, with the standards, with the principles, with the laws in making any decision. At the end of the day, we see the changes to occur to the client. We have just seen the stages of development toward ethical decision making, and we have just seen the model in making decision. There are 4 steps that we have just seen, and we have seen ethical dilemma, and that this is total misconduct when you deal with corruption. One of the dilemma that we have just mentioned. There are a lot of dilemma. Can be traditional, can be in terms of culture, can be from the police point of view, can be from the society as a whole, and those can make someone fail to decide. The relationship between the client and the practitioner also can sometimes, when the relationship is not meant for the moral, it can lead to misconduct. How to manage ethical dilemma? We have just seen. We need to define the concept, to identify the dilemma. We just to identify the solution, and we just select the best solution that will help you in solving that dilemma. And then we have seen corruption. As I've said, this is one of the major professional misconduct. We need to avoid any kind of corruption in making practice, in solving the problems. To our clients, that every day the service will reach to what is intended for the profession and to the client, who is the beneficiary of the service. This is the end of the session. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.